What's up, everybody? Welcome to a very special episode of the Rich and Turbo Heavy Half Hour. My name's Rich. Find me on Exit Fuzz Doom Rip, Rich.Pive, and all the other socials, doing reviews for Musepedia of Metal, and as a Doom Charts contributor. Turbo, say hello, please, Turbo.
Hello, please.
Turbo, excellent. I can't believe I'm saying this on our show, but we have Wino on our show. The legend Wino. How you doing? How is it going?
I'm doing pretty good. Can't complain.
Amazing. Thank you so much for doing this. This is just an honor to have you on the show, and we really want to dive into talking a little bit about the new record that you have coming out. It's called Create or Die, correct?
That's right.
Excellent. We have been lucky enough to hear it ahead of time. What can you say about it? What can you tell the people listening about it?
I think that I think that it's a pretty good snapshot of me. There's a lot of the songs on Create or Die are kind of personal. I mean, it's really like just about, it's kind of like my outlook on life, really, and my philosophy, of course, which is create or die. Like a friend of mine, he's another artist, Carlito. I mean, he sent me a letter with some art. I used some of his art in the record too, and he sent me a letter, just shooting the shit. And at the end of the letter, he said, "Create or die." And as simple as it is, that sort of does kind of sum up my philosophy. And so I asked him if he minded if I used that for the record, and he was cool with that. And I think that it says everything pretty much right there.
Excellent. Yeah. We were chatting just a second before we kicked it off, and we absolutely love it. People are gonna just be so psyched to hear this. The interesting thing about this Wino solo record, based on listening to some of your other stuff, is it's kind of a mix between, you have kind of full band stuff going on as well as acoustic stuff going on. And normally, from a solo record standpoint, you tend to focus on the acoustic stuff. Was there kind of a thought process to go into kind of having a little bit of both with this record?
Yeah, there is. It was going to be mainly an acoustic record, but as I got to fleshing out the songs and stuff, I realized that some of them, I don't know, it was just screaming for drums and stuff, and so I had two different drummers play with me on that, and that's Kai Anto, who's a musician, singer, songwriter in his own right, Canadian guy. He's also my guitar tech for the Obsessed when we tour. He's an amazing guy. He came down from Canada and played most of the drums, and then I had on Hopeful Defiance, I had this young cat, great guy, his name's Cameron Queen, played drums on that, on the punkier one. So yeah, it was kind of like I got Ben McGuire down there to sing some backups, and then also because I did it with Frank Marchand, and he's the engineer friend of mine in Maryland at Waterford Digital, is the name of his studio, and he was actually the sound man, the touring sound man for a pretty popular Irish folk band. As a matter of fact, they were huge here in the States, called We Banjo 3. And when I was doing, Frank really picked up, when he heard the non-fleshed out version of New Terms, and I said, well, I can really hear a ball drum on that, the Irish drum, the Celtic drum. He said, well, man, I'll just send the files to Ireland. So basically, since he knew the two guys in We Banjo 3, he sent the files to Ireland, and we got the two brothers to play ball drum and Irish banjo. So that's traditional shit on the traditional wood from the traditional OG guys, and I was blown away, man, blown away. So that was one amazing thing about it. And then, Frank's also, he knows so many people, and he's just a masterful engineer. And bury me in Texas. I said, man, I could really hear pedal steel on that. He's like, let me make the call, and there it was. So it came together in kind of a really nice way.
I think that's another reason why I think people are going to dig this, because you get a little bit of everything Wino in this and more, right? And thinking of New Terms specifically, I was listening to that and I'm like, I've heard a lot of Wino, solo stuff, but this is next level, different kind of stuff. And your explanation of how this song came about is it just kind of explains that. The other song that stands out for me is Hopeful Defiance. Is that the one you were saying was kind of the punkier song, or the?
Yeah.
Tell us about that one if you don't mind. That's currently the one that I have most on repeat.
Well, it's obviously kind of a protest song. I mean, that was how they described like the description they used for some stuff back in the '60s. Protest music, and it's just kind of like I'm always hopeful, but at the same time, you got to stand your ground. So hopeful defiance. So that just became like kind of like another mantra or slogan or whatever in my head that I think that merited. I think it was good for the title. And obviously, it's a song about standing your ground. In what you believe. Whether it's non-compliance or whether with somebody else's bullshit or whatever it might be. But that's what it's pretty much about.
Love it.
Stand the ground, believe in yourself, and if you believe in yourself and the truth, as we do, then hopefully it'll work.
Right. The guitars on that song just completely rip it up. Is that all you playing all the leads and everything on there, or did you have anybody else?
Yeah, I played everything. I played the bass on everything too, except where noted. I mean, Kai played, did some stuff, played some percussion and a little bit of bass. I think he played bass on that one song, but yeah, it really truly is a solo record. I mean, like I said, it was going to be acoustic. The only thing that ended up being completely acoustic was Noble Man, and I think that song needed to be acoustic, and I put it last because I figured, I don't know. Well, I'm glad you guys like it. That makes me feel really good.
Love it. I think people are really, really, really going to dig it. Turbo, as usual, I've dominated the first part of the interview. So what do you have for Wino?
That answered a lot of my questions. Because I hear a lot. I was fascinated by some of the extra instruments that I hear that I haven't heard in your music before.
Yeah.
You mentioned 2 or 3 of them there. My favorite song is the Lost Soul song, and I hear.
All right.
Is it a theremin or a moog? Or
what that is the pedal steel is in there too on that song, but I'm also using my EBO, which is like a handheld sustainer. And, I'm glad that song resonates with you. I mean, that song is dedicated to a friend of mine whose son was murdered by the police, actually. And just kind of just like a little word, like I don't know, the guilt someone would feel when something like that happens, because of the circumstances and stuff, were pretty extreme, and it's just sort of like a comment on, the fleetingness of life, and how that I think it's going to be okay, I mean, I don't know whether she's even going to hear it or not, because I just don't know, but yeah, that's pretty much inspired by.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully that gets out there.
Yeah, and at 7 minutes, it's 7+ minutes. It's I don't know if it's your longest solo song, but it doesn't seem like it's 7 minutes when you listen to that track.
Is it really 7 minutes? Yeah, it doesn't seem like it is to me either. I mean, it's slow. It's like keeping stuff slow is hard. Like I thought about trying to play that live, but without a band, it's tough. So I don't know, but eventually we'll see what's going to happen. Maybe I'll take some of these songs out on the road with the full band. Maybe
I see that you're doing. You've done a couple acoustic nights. Have those been pretty well received, or?
Those are pretty well received. I mean, I really enjoy doing it too. Like lately I've been playing with Jason, the other guitar player in the Ozzfest, and we did a couple things together. And then also just recently down at right here where I live, the little bar opened up. Little combo bar store, and the guy's super cool, and so we talked about maybe doing something in there, and so we did. And I had my friend Ike from Ike's Wasted World play an acoustic set, and then Jason played a couple songs with his wife, played Mellotron, and then I did a set, and it was really, really good actually during the day on the 4th. So it's all with the kind of things, it's always a little bit daunting sometimes, because people would like to book me to do that and sandwich me in between a couple of metal bands. It's kind of hard to, I don't know. I've done it a bunch. I think it's better when it's just kind of like the acoustic thing on its own.
Right.
I mean, just playing acoustic guitar sandwich in between a couple of killer metal bands could be challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so. Did I see recently you were married? Is that a thing that I saw on?
Yeah,
I saw
I've been married for 2 years now, I think. Yeah.
I saw a show that was happening that
Right. Yeah.
was
Okay.
celebrating
Basically, what that is that's a couple of years ago, my wife decided she wanted to play bass. She played drums a little bit and stuff. And she decided she wanted to play bass, so we set her up a really nice rig, and the next thing you know, she's written 11 songs, 11 original songs, singing, playing, and so her idea for a band was called Ritual Arcana, and so I agreed to play guitar, and then we recruited Oak Munson from the Black Lips, drummer from Black Lips, to play drums because he lives near here, and there was this magic happening. So now we have that band, and with her playing bass and singing. I don't sing at all; I just play guitar, 3-piece. And we got a record coming out soon. Well, we've actually recorded it on our own dime, and so we're shopping it. But I think we're close to something. But I can't talk about that. But you'll see some of that soon, and I can always send you guys some if you want to hear it.
We would love to hear that, and we'd love to break the news on the show once you're signed and ready to go. So let us know. We would love that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And I'm only going to ask you this because it's on your Instagram, but. And this is probably not a question you get a lot when you're talking about Wino and his music. But did I see you have a son who's like a diver, like a really good diver? Is that?
Yeah, I've got two sons. My middle son is an excellent diver. I mean, he's a platform diver. He's pretty good. I mean, he's been winning a lot of medals, and they're hopefully he's going to qualify for the Olympics. He came close last year, but we'll see. He dived for Indiana University. And they do a lot of international stuff. I mean, they're really good. I mean, doing 4.5 off the platform. I mean, he's absolutely fearless. He's got the same birthday as Evel Knievel. But he's great. He's a great guy. He's also like a really good singer, and he can play some guitar too. And then my oldest son, he's in his first year of med school, and he's a scientist. Man, he's like a scientist and also an amazing guitar player. And just lately, within the last 2 years, we've really cultivated a nice relationship. And he came out over the 4th, and we played some guitar. Man, I actually recorded one of his riffs. I mean, we're working on a song together. It's pretty amazing. It's really it's mind blowing when I'm jamming with him. The way that where he wants to change or where he just wants to go. It's like I'm playing with myself. It's crazy. But it's very cool. It's very cool, and I'm glad we are in the place we are now. Then my youngest is my daughter. She's going to be her first year of college this year, and she's a singer, and she sang background on the choruses of 2 songs on Forever Gone. She sang with me on Was Is and Shall Be and Lavender and Sage. So she's got a voice like an angel, and she's going into she's likes to act, and she's a great actress and stuff. So we'll see. Yeah,
that's very cool.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Very lucky. Very lucky.
Very blessed man.
Congratulations on all of that. And the guitar stuff and the singing, and that makes a lot of sense. But was Wino a diver? Like, were you an athlete back in the day, or how did that happen?
Well, I love playing football, but I didn't want to cut my hair, and so when the coach started calling me Pocahontas, I fucking quit.
Fuck that guy.
Man.
Fuck that guy. Exactly. Look where you are now.
I'll tell you a really funny story. All right. So I was a good player, but I wasn't like super psychotic or aggressive either, and I wasn't that big. So so I was like a wide receiver, blah blah blah. But one day, I smoked some angel dust before I went to practice, okay? And I was like completely numbed out, and completely aggressive, and they had me playing. They had me filling in at linebacker for some reason. And I was just like slaughtering people, and they were just like, "Whoa, we're going to play defense next week." But of course, I could never do it again. You know what I mean? One long after that, I quit.
Oh, love it.
Back then, I'd rather hang out, get high, than go to football practice.
Understood.
Right.
Absolutely understood. One of the things that amazes me about you is that it seems like the Obsessed is continually on the road. Like the last few years, it just seems like you have been just hitting it everywhere. Has that been a conscious thing to just take the Obsessed and just give it to everybody, or is that something that it's going to continue for a while? Or you're working on more stuff
tricky,
with the
man.
Obsessed?
It's tricky because that's pretty much how I sell a little bit of art on my art site, and I do a few things like that. But mainly, that's how I really make money is touring. And let me tell you, it's been a little tight. And then we also had, like, over the winter, we didn't tour at all because I think we over toured our little local market, or because the very last tour we did in the U.S. wasn't good for us financially at all, and we have to rent a vehicle, which is like a big drain. So we rearranged a little bit, and also we had a pretty traumatic thing happen when my best friend and longtime drummer Brian decided to step away from the band for personal reasons, and that was a little bit hard because it was pretty sudden, and so we dodged the bullet, and we really got lucky with Bob. So now Bob agreed to play in the band, and we've had a couple jams so far, and it's just fantastic. Now he is a rock and roll animal. He's ready to tour, so we're going to be out there playing a lot for sure. But the thing is, people have to come out. People can a lot of people are like, man, you're such you're such an influence, this and that. But if they don't come out to the show, it doesn't really help us.
Absolutely. Everyone needs to go see the Obsessed and all the bands that you love, because that's how you guys make a living these days. How you guys keep this going. Right?
It's worthwhile. I think it's worth it to support the underground. Like, if I go to a show, even if I might know the people, if I have the dough, I'm going to pay, because I'd rather pay, so they make the money than, be on the guest list. I mean, occasionally, people offer to put you on or whatever, okay, But, that's kind of always been my philosophy, really.
Excellent. Yeah, and yeah, everyone needs to buy physical media. Everyone needs to go to these shows. Otherwise, we don't get to have this stuff. I'm gonna. You probably.
I can see when he wants to talk because he's got a purple ring, right?
Yeah. He knows that if I just keep going, I'll just keep going. Turbo, what else? What else you got, Turbo?
Do you have, or does Meteor City have the rights to Spirit Caravan's Dream Wheel? Will that be re-released, or?
That is a very, very interesting question that you just asked me. I do have the rights to Dream Wheel, and it's something that's kind of hard to find, right?
Yes.
Yes.
You're leading me into something that I don't really want to talk about just yet. But
okay.
There is plans to have some of that stuff to be repopped, and that's all I want to say right now, because I don't want to. That's all I can say right now. But yeah.
Hey.
That was my first introduction to you. Although I had I had an SST compilation that had St. Vitus on it, but I didn't really give it my full attention. And then, as when Spirit Caravan came out, that was when I started paying attention to what you were doing and everything, and got back into it.
I love that. I love that EP, and
yeah,
it didn't make it onto the Last Embrace. The Last Embrace encompasses everything Spirit Caravan had pretty much done except for Dreamwheel. And the reason was like, dude wanted to change the cover, and he wanted to put it on Last Embrace, but he also wanted to change the cover. And I love that cover. I mean, I worked really, really hard on that cover, and it has a lot of meaning. So I didn't want to change the cover, and that ended up into kind of a little bit of just a kind of tiny bit of a little spat, and so that was it. So basically, it's not on Last Embrace, and it's basically out of print. But not for that much longer, I don't think. So,
but
I love that record. I mean, I think that's some of the cool shit. One of my favorite songs is "See Yourself." I think I can actually remember it good. And
there's some good work on that you did.
Thank you.
That's a nice tease for us vinyl freaks who will be all over that once we hear what's going to happen with that. So that's exciting. I'm going to ask you about a couple different projects that maybe you don't get asked a lot about, just to mix it up. Number one, the Nativity in Black tribute to Black Sabbath. Obviously, today is a sad day. We lost Ozzy.
Yeah.
You played with Geezer and Bill and Rob Halford on that song.
I'll tell you the whole story. All right.
Yeah, please.
So basically, I was signed to Columbia at the time. I had a management, Andy Gould, and I was also in the musicians union. Okay, so basically, I get the call from my manager, and he says, "Hey, how would you feel about playing guitar on this kind of Sabbath tribute thing?" This is what happened. Basically, Toby Wright, he's a famous producer, was hired by Columbia Records to put together this to try to see if he could get the original Sabbath to do another version of the Wizard for this Columbia comp, right? So Toby flew to England. First person he went to was Geezer. Basically, Toby hired a studio guitar player and a studio harmonica player, and they came up with that version. Okay, that version, you know. And so I love it. I think it's phenomenal. So he took it with him to England, and he played it for Geezer. Geezer liked it so much that he wrote that heavy middle part that's in there. That's not on the regular one, right? All right. So then they had basically everybody liked it. They had everybody down, and all the original members have played on it. Okay. So now we're back in L.A. And the Sharon Osbourne thing starts to rear its fucking ugly head. And next thing you know, it's like the two record companies, Ozzy's and Tony's, are at each other's throat. So it turns out that neither one of them can be on these tracks. Okay. So they called Henry Rollins and they said, Henry, you want to sing on this? And he said, no, why don't you call Wino? But by the time that they called me, they'd already got Rob Halford to sing on it. So then they still needed someone to just basically, clone Iommi's tracks. So they called me up. I said I'd do it. Went down there. It was just Toby Wright and the tapes. And a really nice studio in L.A. So I went down there with my Les Paul, my Model T head, and I fucking, they had a Marshall cabinet. I set my rig up. I had a boomerang, a Maestro boomerang that I cocked, I think, and I pretty much had the sound. And so basically all I did was just go over those Iommi's tracks, like pretty much note for note. With Toby Wright, he was like, this weird cyber priest looking dude, great guy, but like standing right over me, like he researched me and everything. I was amazed. He's like, man, I really like your stuff, and I was like, what do you mean, Vitus? And he goes, no, I'm obsessed and all that. He'd done some research on me, which I found really amazing. And he was a really nice guy, but he was like, to the 12th fret every time, and do that slide, every time to the 12th. So it was really interesting, and I thought it was fantastic. And then the funniest thing at the end of the story is that, okay, so I did the rhythm tracks, and I said, well, who's doing the lead? He said, well, I got the guy from Fight. I already got a lead I like that I'm going to use, but you're willing to, if you want to try one, go ahead. So, I tried one, and I didn't think it was any good, and so I kind of ended with kind of like, it's kind of like noise, And Toby said, I don't know about the solo, but that noise was amazing. Okay, so if you listen to that song, that version of the Columbia on the Tiffany Black, if you listen to that solo, in the middle of the solo, you're going to hear like this kind of like this breakdown, this kind of noisy thing for like 2 seconds or a second and a half. That's the end of my solo that he spliced in there, believe it or not. Yeah.
Nice.
Right, so I never met any of those guys or anything like that, but it was quite an experience, and I know that my bass player was was there with me, and he was sitting there when the engineer actually brought up the version with all of Sabbath that they couldn't use. So he's the only one that got to hear it. Yeah.
Okay, that was amazing. I don't know if we're going to be able to top it with me asking about the other project that I'm very interested in. It was the Probot project. Okay. Yeah. Number one, Dave Grohl, known to be the nicest guy in rock, maybe not as much anymore. Where are we on that?
I feel like I should call David up and say, dude, rock and roll. Get it on. Don't fucking sweat it. Just do it. I mean, you know what I mean? David's great. Okay, he's great. I think the Probot thing was kind of like a way for him to kind of get his street cred back, Or I think that was kind of like what he wanted to do, he wanted to show everybody that he was still fucking down and dirty. And basically, I was really honored because, the people that he chose to be on that record were all, pretty much idols of his, what he listened to when he was a kid, major influences. And so, I was overjoyed. When he sent the music that they'd already recorded, and he said, he'd already had the guitar tracks laid down in the bass and all that, and the drums, of course. And he wanted words and solo. And basically, when I listened to that, I was just blown away. I loved the music. And so, at the time, I was studying Zechariah Sitkin and his work translating Babylonian cuneiform. And basically, so the song "The Emerald Law" is basically about how the Akashic records or the stone tablets, emerald tablets, are underneath the paws of the Sphinx. Like I say in the video, like a little bit of bloodline, Christ thrown in there. You know what I mean? But it worked out really well, and I was totally overjoyed to do it. And I actually got to do it with David because, I lived in Maryland and his mother lives in Virginia, and that's where his tape machine was. But on the day we went to do it, the day before, he said he went to his mom's house and he left his tape machine on for 6 months and it fried it. So we ended up doing the tracks at Don Giantaro's, which was where all the Discord and DC punk bands recorded. You know, Minor Threat, Fugazi, Discord, Inner Ear with Don Giantaro. So that was fantastic. I mean, it was a great experience. You know, David was right there in the studio egging me on. I was doing the solo, and he liked the words and everything. It was really, really great, man. It was a lot of fun doing that. But I will tell you, the last thing is at the beginning of that song, there's that little spoken thing, "I do not die." That is actual. That's me verbatim from translated Babylonian poem from the day. That's it, word for word.
That's awesome. I love it.
Doing that, you don't have to worry about copyrights from something that's Babylonian. like Dream Wheel. Like Dream Wheel, what that is, the lyrics to Dream Wheel, the song Dream Wheel, came from an Aztec poem. My wife gave me this beautiful calendar, my ex-wife gave me this beautiful calendar, and on it was this cool poem. And I looked at that poem, and I just kind of I isolated that poem, and that became the concept and a rearranged version for Dream Wheel, because I just thought the concept was so great, so heavy, you know.
That's awesome. Yeah, we talk to a lot of bands who have some spoken word or they have samples, and the given we're talking to the heavy underground here, we always have to make sure you find things that you don't have to pay for, that are public domain and that are not things that are out there. And it doesn't matter because they all sound great. Like it just works within it.
If you use it respectfully, if you use it with permission, I mean, I don't ever lift anything or nothing like that. I mean, it's antithesis to what I do. But I mean, I've had people, like I had a famous rapper who wanted to use a couple seconds of the Ebo thing on Smiling Road, which was on Punctuated Equilibrium, but I didn't let him do it.
I think that's how Billy Squier retired, on some selling a tiny piece of, I think, the song "The Stroke" to a rapper, and he wound up making some kind of ridiculous amounts of money on it.
Let me know, Mom, I'm coming home. You know what I mean? I hate to I'm trying to kind of process that in a different way, but
yeah, tough day around that. Turbo, what else do you have?
You sing, well, you mentioned a few things. You sang about a lot of different cultures and myths and stuff like that. And I would imagine, you travel a lot. And so I was curious, have you ran across some weird stuff, seen some stuff, or, that...
I've seen some really interesting stuff. I mean, usually when we're on tour, we don't really have that much time. You're kind of going from, one city to the next, a lot of times one country to the next. But, I have some I remember when last time I was in Hungary, we went to what they call Hero Square. You've got a Hero Square where it's got all these sculptures of Attila and all his sons and all the Hungarian kings. But if you look really, really closely, you almost need binoculars. I think I did have a pair. Some of this, if you look at some of these monuments way up top, you can see some really wild shit like the owl, the eye. I mean, you can really see there's the influences of the heavy secret societies, and to this day, control the world to this day, symbols of them, and that in those stela, that you can spot, so certain stained glass, old stained glass, you can look into these pictures and you can read into, you can sort of see what's happened if you know what to look for. I mean, I'm into knowing where we're headed and where we've been and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
A lot of, it's hard to, it's just an ongoing thing,
Awesome.
Research.
I just figured, never know. You meet some interesting people out there that sometimes they may bring stuff to you or take you places.
The fans, the people I meet, the friends and fans are fantastic. I mean, that's why I do it, really. I mean, once I realized, my childhood dreams, once you realize, hey, you're not going to be as big as the Beatles, it's a different thing. Then I learned pretty fast, my reward is a lot different than just a sack of gold on the table. It really is the ability to communicate with people, but the ability to enrich other people's lives, is super, super important to me, and that in turn enriches mine,
Right.
I think it's important. I mean, I'm one of these guys, where the glass is half full, or, I think giving is definitely better than receiving, and, I'll just try to keep to that core philosophy, but yeah, I mean, the friends and the fans, I mean, those people are the salt of the earth, man, especially the people who listen to our kind of music,
Right.
I mean, the pop thing is for society, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're a different
Yeah.
a different type of person, different type of listener, different type of fan.
Yeah.
That being said, I want Wino to kind of look back on your stuff, and as maybe a fan of just your material, would you be able to say, this was my favorite thing that I did in my career so far? This is my favorite album. This is my favorite release. Is there a favorite that Wino has to this day?
I could probably give you my top 5, but I mean,
Would love it.
that's a hard question. Like when somebody asks you, "What's your favorite Sabbath song?" That's an impossible question, you know. But I would say, like, you know, if I had to be stuck on a desert island, you know, with my own music, I really like the record I did with Victor, with Vision, Place of Skulls record I did with Victor. I really like that record a lot. That was a really great time in my life. I mean, you equate those, you know, the music with the time, you know, and what you're living at the time. So that was amazing. Of course, man, I'd be hard pressed which Vitus record, but you know, either Born Too Late or V or 5 for Vitus. As far as the Obsessed goes, man, God, I don't know. I mean, I think that I really love the way that the Purple record, the first record, came out, but I also really love Lunar Moon because it was so different. It was with Reader, and then I fucking dig Sacred, but man, Gilded Sorrow, I think the last Obsessed record we did would have to be number 3.
There it is.
I love the Premonition 13 record too. That'd be 4. I don't know. And the Shrine was cool. That was like one of the coolest things ever to have us all together doing that. That was a dreamy band, man. It was like Kelly was fond of saying, it was an experiment that actually worked. So I guess that would be 5.
Excellent.
I mean, 1 would be impossible, I think. I mean, I don't know. Just,
It would be.
Because, you know, it's such a long period of time, you know.
And it's, you know, while it's all Wino, it all has its own kind of thing going on. It's all, it's all a little bit different, and I get it.
Either. See, there it goes. See, now I would have to have Jug Full of Sun on there too, and Jug Full of Sun was really what that record was. That was the second record that the Obsessed never got from the Columbia deal. That was what most of those songs were going to be on the follow-up to Church Within, but they dropped us after the first record, Church Within. So, you know, but yeah, Jug Full of Sun's in there too. So I don't know. I mean, that's one of these days. I was thinking about doing just my favorite songs, like all in one compilation. I might still do that at some point. Try to do that.
That'd be awesome. Would love that. Turbo, what else
you ever feel like anybody? I was listening to Freedom off of the first Obsessed album, and like halfway through it, you do a riff, and I was like, "This sounds familiar," and I thought that sounds like Slipping Away off of the Mob Rules, and I was I was wondering if Wyoming, if you ever had a feeling that maybe somebody you expected took.
I don't think that was around yet, was it? I mean,
no, it wasn't. That was like. It made me think. I wonder if Wyoming heard that and kind of lifted it from you.
I heard it from you.
I'll tell you. I do remember an influence on that though, because I was listening to. There's a Montrose song on the first record. It's called "Make It Last."
It's one of my favorite songs.
Right, and one of my favorite guitar players was this guy Jamie Sutton. He played in a local band in the D.C. area called Bolt. But he's the guy who we were at the same bad boy school, let's put it that way. But he could drive, he was a little bit older, he had a fake ID, but he's the guy who showed me how to play one finger power chords, like, you know, the traditional kind of, you know, one finger power chord. And Make It Last was his favorite song on that record. And, you know, it's just that part at the end that's kind of keep on rolling long as you can. I mean, that kind of was influenced me, that feeling, you know, that feeling of just like, drive it, you know, just keep on, you know. That was sort of an influence for that tune. And Freedom was inspired by the fact of, you know, being incarcerated at a young age also. So, that, you know, that's pretty much, you know, what that was all about. It's all about positive, you know.
Did you ever was Dick Wagner, you ever a fan of his early work? With
Dick Wagner? Dude, if you mention Dick Wagner in front of Bobby Liebling, he's going to lose his mind. Besides Wayne Kramer, that's his favorite guitar player. And I love Dick Wagner. As a matter of fact, when we recorded The Church Within, we did that at Stanley Pearlman's studio. Now, Stanley Pearlman was the manager of Blues to Colt for years and years. Wrote some stuff, too. I think he co-wrote Cities on Flame and stuff. So And I love that early cult shit, you know. So here we are at Sandy's studio because it was the only analog studio we could find at the time, and you know, tape. And so basically we went out to Northern California, did that, and then I was in the pre-production room playing guitar, and I saw Sandy flitting around, you know. I was like, man, I wonder if I could call him over here. I wanted to hear some stories. So I started playing something off of Tyranny Mutation, seven Screaming Dustbusters, you know. And sure shit, it worked, man. He called him right over and started talking about stuff. And he told me, he said that he was around in the day with the first Alice Cooper band record, you know. Like, or not the first one, but Love It to Death. He said, this is what he said. This is exactly what he said. He goes, man, I'd get the record company to give the band, you know, $500 and a fucking bag of Coke and send them down to the bar, and I'd call Dick Wagner to come play the leads. He looked like Frankenstein put together spare parts, but he could play his ass off. Swear to God. That's Dick Wagner playing a lot of those solos on some of that early stuff, on some of that early Alice Cooper and the bands from that day, you know, that Sandy was involved with. That was his ringer. And that's not uncommon, really, you know? But that blew my mind, man. I'll even tell you, I mean, Dick Wagner and Steve Hunter, that was the famous combination on Lou Reed's Rock and Roll Animal Live.
Yeah.
Those two guitar players, of course, Steve Hunter, you know, was from Mitch Router and Detroit Wheels. And I saw him warm up Sabbath when I saw Sabbath in '73. So yeah, I mean, guitar-driven rock, man. Between me and Bobby, we'll take anybody on for trivia.
I think that Lou Reed record is one of our friend's favorite live records.
Right.
Just rips.
Players, that's Steve Hunter and Dick Wagner. Dick Wagner, of course, but Dick Wagner also played in another really cool band, the early Dick Wagner. I can't remember the name of the band. What was it? Was Frost or something about cold spaces?
Shit.
We'll probably think of it before the interview's out, but yeah, Bobby, man, he's a Dick Wagner fan all the way, like big time. It's funny though, Sandy's story blew my mind really.
That's awesome.
It kind of leads to another question. You know, you've probably played with or shared stages with, you know, tons and tons of musicians, both peers and new bands, and anybody who left you like kind of awestruck in, like, whether it was watching them and seeing them live or interacting with them, or is there anybody who you would recall that you would?
Lemmy.
Yeah.
I mean, man, you know, what can I say? I mean, I feel extremely lucky to have had the interaction that I did with him. I knew him actually because, believe it or not, like, his main dealer was from my home state of Maryland. So, you know, it's like I knew her really well, and like I remember one time, I got some stories. I mean, but Lemmy was a great guy, man. He was really true to his ideal, to his core beliefs. You know, I mean, he was hardcore anti-heroin, which I understand. If you read his book, you know that his one and only love of his life, you know, OD'd and died from heroin back in the Hawkwood days, I think.
Yeah.
So he was like, you know, but he was a great guy, man. I mean, he really, really fucking okay. He used to write an article for Rip Magazine. He used to write a column in the back of Rip Magazine. Rip Magazine was around for a while. It was like Guccione, like Penthouse. Dude put out Rip for a while. It was a cool magazine. Had a big spread on the obsession there, but he wrote a column at the end of every Rip. Lemmy wrote a column. So he wrote this one column on religion, and because his dad was a vicar, you know, and so I found it fascinating. It was a fantastic article on religion. So I cut it out, and I used to carry it around in my wallet. All right. So when I hooked up with our friend, I don't want to say the name, but hooked up with our friend, you know, she goes, man, I should call, Lemmy's been calling me for 3 days. I better go see him. He's probably scraping bags by now. I was like, oh my God, you know, like, really? You know, you hold up the king here. But I happen to have this World War II, some kind of German patch, okay, the so-on patch from the day, OG, some drifter had left in my pad, right? And so I knew that that's what he's into, and I was broke, and so I told my friend, I said, well, ask him, you know, she's on the phone with him. I said, ask him if he's interested in maybe buying his patch from me. And he's like, oh yeah. Bring him over, right? So I go over there, you know, and this is before, you know, before his movie came out. Like, you've seen this pad. Like, I was in that same pad, except it wasn't like that. I mean, the movie was years later. When I was there, all he had in the pad was like these SS daggers, like fanned out like suns on his wall. Gigantic tour posters from like huge festivals in Germany, you know. Refrigerator, nothing but Carlsbergs. No food. Bathroom, gigantic, like a barrel of mouthwash. That's it. right? All right. So we're sitting there, and he said, "Oh yeah, that's German Red Cross. How much you want for it?" You know, I basically, I basically gave it to him. I made for a song. I mean, he gave me a little bit of dough, but then I said to him, I said, "Listen, man, I really like your column. I really like your column. As a matter of fact, I really like your column. Can I get you to sign, your religion thing that I had in my pocket?" And he did that. He goes, "Would you like to read the new draft of the new one I'm doing?" I said, "Yeah." And I read it, and he said, "You read quite fast for an American." Lemmy, God, man, you live forever, man.
Oh, that's amazing. That's.
But Lemmy's one, and Bobby to an extent also. Like Bobby is an amazing human. Bobby has had an interaction. Bobby has a cassette that he recorded Hendrix. I've heard it. I mean, it's like a little cassette recorder of the day, and they're gabbing away, so it's all like, but it's fucking Hendrix. He has a cassette of Hendrix playing. Was at the show. I mean, Bobby's amazing. I also really, I've had good interaction with a lot of people. I mean, especially in my genre, like my peers, the people that are in, the bands that we travel and play with. Everybody has just shown me nothing but respect and love, and that's the way. I just think that's the way it should be. There's no room for really, there's no room for fucking jealous, hate, and discontent. You know what I mean? In our world, I mean. So I've had a lot of great interaction with a lot of good bands. COC, Crowbar People, I Hate God, Down. I feel really lucky to have played with people like that and know people like that. I mean, a couple of funny stories, like Down dragged me on stage, at Ozzfest and this that. Didn't really know the song, that kind of shit. But I love all these people that dedicate their lives to music and underground music. No compromise.
It's very, very cool. Did you get pulled up on stage to play a Down song at Ozzfest? That was.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay. To be honest with you, I don't really listen to radio very much. So at the time, I mean, I was actually, trying to push our little cassette. We just got back from the fiasco after the Obsessed got signed and all, and we put together Shine, which was what Spirit Caravan basically. We just changed the name. So I had a cassette. I was up at the Ozzfest. I think it was I think it might have been the first one. The first run, because Neurosis was on it, and I Hate God was on it. And basically, the I Hate God, you saw me walking around the crowd, and they said, "Man, Phil wants to meet you. You got to meet Phil," And so they took me backstage into the bowels of the Ozzfest, and the first thing I saw when I was walking up. No, I'm sorry. It wasn't Down. It was Pantera. My bad. And the first thing I see is the road crew bending over, getting injections in their Some dude, one of the roadies in a white coat with a medical bat. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And, basically, they were just getting B12, and Daryl's warming up now, and he's white as a ghost, but he's like, B12? Why not B12? I was like, no, I'm okay, man, I'm okay. And so basically they took me up on stage, and he said, sing a song with us, and they didn't even tell me. I didn't really know the song. It was This Love, okay? That was a huge hit, right? But I never really listened to the radio, and to be honest with you, at the time I wasn't much of a Pantera. I mean, I wasn't really a fan. I mean, they knew me, and from my music, my term with Violence mainly, and the Obsessed, but mainly Violence fans, and but here I was, and I was with my ex-wife, we're standing, side of the stage, and I just felt like I just started to back more and more up into the dark because the roadie goes, every time I put the mic up for Rex to sing, you come out and sing with Rex, And I was like, I didn't even know the fuck song. And she says to me, she goes, do you know the song? And I said, no. And she goes, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know, man. I started just walking. And finally, come on, Wino, come on. Put the mic out there. And I was like, so here it is, Ozzfest, And my guys, my band, like Sherman and all those dudes were you were, trying to get to the front row, And I was just looking at Rex. He's playing and singing. I was trying to figure out what he was singing. He was singing, this love, love, love. And I was just looking at him going, ah, ah. Come on, going, ah. I never figured it out, And Sherman said to me, oh, dude, that was great being that drama. I was like, I tried to find it, I figured I might be able to locate that show on YouTube, but I haven't been able to find it yet. But
Oh, yeah. That's a deep dive right after this is done. Looking for that.
Holy shit. I mean, that's like really getting put on the fucking spot, man. You know.
I love it. I love it. While I was researching, because full disclosure, when the new record was shared with us, I didn't get any information on it. Like, it was just the songs. And
yeah, I asked if you guys had it because I figured I didn't know because it's Todd, you know. So I wanted you to hear that, you know. So
yeah, and so I wanted to start to do a little bit of research looking for dates, but then I came across your website where you're selling your art. Yeah. Now I'm a little disappointed because it looks like everything is sold out. But what are you doing on that site? What are you offering? And tell us a little bit about the art that you have out there and that might be available.
Well, I mean, I feel really lucky, because you know when the whole like lockdown came down and all that fucking Nazi shit. You know, I was really felt happy because I was able to sell some of my paintings and stuff that we make, and you know, and I had kind of like already had like a little bit of a clientele because of the fans for the music, which was amazing, and you know, and I mean, my stuff is not for everybody. I mean, it's pretty. I think it's pretty twisted. I mean, like my favorite artists are like, you know, yeah. My favorite artist is pretty twisted. Like Alfred Kubin is one of them, and you know, stuff like that. Kowski, you know, some of the Polish guys. But you know, it's like I don't really think that I'm the best, you know, realism guy. But I mean, you know, I got some strange ideas. So.
Are you doing more? Are you going to have more out there and available?
More, definitely. We make a blast, and every time that we have a new batch, we make a video. So if you go back onto my Instagram, you probably see all the different videos we made for we usually call it like, you know, the solstice batch, or the last one was, you know, the world is my canvas, a blast. And, you know, that's the way to do it. And like, I'm just really thankful for people that, you know, want to buy the art stuff. I mean, I'm blown away.
Excellent.
Well,
yeah,
the cat was in there. I'm going to say, where I keep the art, the door was shut, it just opened right then, but it was the cat.
The cat is your hype man, obviously, wanting to kind of, you know, push your art a little bit. So I have to go back to a callback of what you mentioned earlier when talking about the Sabbath tribute. You said Henry Rollins referred you for that, right? Do you talk to Henry Rollins? Is Hank a friend? Is that somebody who
He's a friend of mine. I don't talk to him that much, but man, he always answers my call or email whenever I need to talk to him about something. I don't talk to him very much, but I will tell you this. In his spoken word, he always tells the story of when me and him first met. And as the years go on, I get thuggier and thuggier, man. Like, I gotta say, if you've listened to one of his modern spoken words, it went down a little tiny bit different than that. Like, I mean, I get it, you know. I mean, you know. When I met him that night, the story is like this. We met each other on the streets of D.C. at a pretty ungodly hour on Sunday night. You know, getting into the wee hours. But he was just getting off work at Haagen-Dazs because he was still in SOA. He was still in SOA. He wasn't in Flag yet. But he was a Black Flag fan, and he had a Black Flag button on. Okay, now I had a Motorhead patch on. And basically what happened to me was, on Saturday night, the night before, I got so loaded, there's some kind of street brawl, that I went home with somebody else and left my van in the city, in Georgetown, but I forgot where I parked it. So basically, I was down there Sunday night, all gone, walking around looking for my fucking van. So here comes the skinhead, you know, which is Henry, and here, come on, there's no getting around it. We're going to have to interact. And both of us were like, what's going to happen? Because those days were not like these days. Those days were there was a lot of tension between, you know, the long-haired community and the skinhead community. A lot of tension between the skinhead communities. I mean, because you had some, you know, there was a lot of shit going on. A lot of change was happening. You know, you had some white power people, you know, blah blah blah. You know. So we're both kind of like, well, what's going to happen now? So we passed each other, and I say, cool, Black Flag, and he goes, oh man, all right, and that was it. And he said, you know, introduced himself. He said, you know, I'm the singer for SOA, and he goes, you know, I work at Haagen-Dazs, and I said, well, we play Beneath It All quite a bit. I said, why don't you come down there and see us? He never did, but Wendell Blow from Iron Cross and John Stab from Government Issue, they would come down, and we had to play 3 sets, you know. We had 2 guitars, we were kind of a different lineup, but we had to play 3 45-minute sets. So we had, at that time, we had to fucking infuse our set with some covers. Covers we like to do are like Iggy, Dead Kennedys. Then we used to play Too Drunk to Fuck. We used to play 5'1", play Dictator's Manifest Destiny. You know, Dead Boys Caught with Meat in Your Mouth. But then we played Decimation, or like an old, you know, an original that, you know, made it up to Church of Santa. Like, man, the punk rocker dudes in those days, they hated when we played those covers, but they loved our originals. So When the Blood be back in the back. Decimation. I mean, how fucking surreal is that, you know? Yeah. But, I mean, that's a long time ago, dude. This is like the very first professional shows that I went in with our portfolio to the dude who ran the club and be like, hey, will you give us a shot, you know? Like, I remember I was dating some girl, she was a bartender down there, she said, oh, go talk to Ripple. You know, he's an ex-pagan, you know? Yeah, it's crazy life, you know?
Awesome. Oh, amazing. Amazing that interaction. Amazing that Henry Rollins worked at Haagen-Dazs. There's a lot of amazing in that whole story.
You listen to his new thing, though, like, I just turned into more and more of a depraved criminal. Like, I don't know. Somebody played the last one for me, and I was like, oh, my God, I couldn't even listen to it. Henry's great. Got to hand it to Henry, man, you know?
That's awesome. Turbo, what else do you have for Wino? I know we've kept him a long time.
Kept him a while. Just back to your album that's coming out. You know, we look forward to it. Sounds great. Your drummer, I don't know which drummer it is, but let them know they got a heavy foot. It sounds great, man.
Right on. Thank you, brother. That's Kai that played on Creator Die, and also Cameron Queen on the Hopeful Defiance. But man, yeah, I dig that record. I mean, you know, there's a lot of personal stuff on there, and it's pretty introspective. But I think all in all, I think it was a pretty accurate snapshot of where I'm at right now. You know, I'm just really, really honored, you know, for Ripple to put it out, and yeah, you know, it's been I'm really glad it's coming out when it is. I mean, it was originally slated to be out a little bit later, and Todd squeezed it in, and I'm thankful for that.
What's the release date on it?
October 24th, I think.
24th. Okay, cool. And just, you know, with Ripple, I feel like your material on Ripple has been a little bit more. Not that you haven't been, but I think, you know, looking at A Gilded Sorrow and the lyrics there on this record, I feel like it's more introspective in the last couple of things that you've done. Am I picking up on that? Is that
I think that's
where your head is?
You know, I'm kind of just a reflection of what I live. You know, like, you know, my adventures and what I see. It really, you know, all my songs really are about, you know, what I see and what I feel. And you know, the world's we're in a crazy spot right now, and I think that, you know, last couple of years have been really interesting, challenging. You know, and I'm kind of like, where are we going from here? You know, don't really know. So you know, I think the music reflects that. I mean, I've never been one to just kind of sit around and practice scales all day long, because I really feel like, you know, your songwriting comes from the adventures you have. You know, like, you know what I mean. Like, I wouldn't be able to write these songs if I wasn't out really living it, and I'm just amazed I've had the opportunity to do what I've done. You know, really, I feel blessed every day. I mean, you know, I'm not a particularly, you know, I don't really ascribe to any denomination when it comes to religion. My religion really is like boots on stage. You know? But I think it's important, you know, I think it's important to look to the old stuff. The elders, I mean, they knew what was happening. I think it's more important to you know, it's time, you know, you got to respect that and look back at that. And, you know, I mean, people I interact with, you know, have helped me a lot. Like, you know, my wife, for example, I mean, she's kind of shown me to look how, you know, if you're always looking outside of yourself for something, you know, you might, it's really might just be in you to start with, you know, and that's a really interesting concept. And so I just want to grow, man. I want to grow. I want to keep writing songs, keep playing, and, you know, create or die. That's what it is.
Love it. And we're blessed to have your music in our life as people who are big fans.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I would love for you to come back with your wife and talk about the record that you guys are putting out, if you don't mind. That would be awesome if you came on and talked to us about that. And yeah, I mean, guys, we have Wino on the show. This is amazing for us. Thank you so much. The new record is called Create or Die. It comes out October 24th.
Yeah.
ish, right around one of those days, October in the 20s.
Yeah, I'm not sure
24th?
what that is, but yeah.
It's on Ripple Music. Thank you, Todd, for introducing us. I really appreciate Todd and all he does for this show and all he does for the rock underground rock community.
He does a lot, man. He does a lot for keeping rock alive. I mean, for sure.
He does, and his taste is I don't know. Turbo and I, he's like tapped into our taste too. Right. Whatever he does, whatever is put out is just seems to be candy for us. But thank you so much, and definitely come back on. I'd love that. What's the band's name? With your wife?
Ritual Arcana.
Love it. Please, Ritual Arcana. Please come back and talk to us about that when you have an announcement to make. We'd love to talk to you guys about that.
I'll have Charlie email you some music.
Love it. Thank you so much.
All right.
That's amazing. And thank you so much for the hour you just gave us. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. I had a good time. It was great interview.
Excellent. Thank you, Wino. Thank you so much.
Nice
Wino,
to meet you.
everybody. Amazing.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, guys.